All right, I'm out here a little bit late today. It's got a good 15 minutes. I'm gonna do a little bit something different today. I'm gonna do some drills on the hills. I did mess up my hamstring a week ago sprinting, and it's a good miss because I need to lose 15 pounds. When I talk about getting to the pace I was running 5 years ago, I was also 15 pounds lighter. So it makes sense. And I was pushing the speed and sprinting for me anyway, something I have to let come to me, keep working out and get faster and faster 1 week at a time instead of trying to. I always get hurt when I'm trying to give a personal best of that day. So anyway, I'm going to do some hill drills. Warm up a little bit, normal warm up. And the hill drill is a start. I mean, I am going to start doing more hills for the next few weeks because I'm going to work on losing the weight. And in doing so, hold on a second, let me make sure I've got a good copy going. Mic test. I'm just, all right. So, what I'll talk about it another time, but on the weight thing, what I want to do is build up some muscle. You've heard me talk about the resting metabolism is 80% of our daily metabolism. We call that basal metabolism. It's 80% of our daily metabolism. And so exercise doesn't do that much for losing weight compared to nutrition and other things, but by building muscle, I do speed up my metabolism. I decided to stay with the 6 pounds on the vest for a while to work on strength. That's why I'm adding a hill. So instead of progressing to 7 pounds, I'm progressing using the hill. I'm almost getting to that third space. Pretty cool. All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna start building up more strength. So I'll do the 1 foot drills a little more often. And by adding the hills, I'm working more on the muscle. Yeah. Update on the 1 foot drills. If I don't have the weight vest on, I can get through them pretty good. With the weight vest on, it's a lot harder. Makes sense, right? 1 foot. So I'm still using that other foot for balance. And it's still difficult. Today, talk about a little something different. I can tell this is not going to be fun. I mean that in a good way. I'll take it easy. I might even take the vest off. No, please, no. No, please.
I'm sorry.
Fall over and break.
Don't have this stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, so we talk a lot about the neurotransmitter production, But I want to talk a little bit today about the homeostasis. So you've heard me talk about before, maybe you may not, this may be your first time, but before I've talked about the predictive nature of the central nervous system. In other words, it can look forward and get a sense of what kind of demand is coming. And based on that demand, it can start pre-staging with the neurotransmitter. It works in reverse. It works both ways. It works both from if you're getting more and more sedentary, it's going to be producing less and less neurotransmitter because it's trying to be efficient. If you are increasing your activity, and that's why we do add one a day. I do small progressions, 1 week, 1 weight per week, small group progressions. And what I'll do is I'll tell you that, I'll tell you that the one of the challenges I had is I started working out too much, especially sprinting once a week. And that sprinting once a week resulted in needing recovery. And what I found is when I get outside of that comfort zone, a couple of problems happen. One is it's harder to be motivated to come out because there's a lot of internal resistance. But the other thing is the benefits of the serotonin, the testosterone, the mitochondria, I noticed less. I feel like there's less benefit because maybe, and I have to look this up, but maybe more of my energy is going towards recovery and I'm not able to do more of the regression or more of the living. You've heard me say maybe that our cells go into a protective mode when they're under stress, and they're either in protective mode or they're getting nutrients. They can't do both. When they're in protective mode, they're not going after nutrients. So we're very much the same way. We're under stress. We're not growing. We're hurting. This is why you want to work those things out before you try something big. All right, so I feel like, oh yeah, that's right. We go backwards here. I feel like this is my first time doing this. So I'm taking it real easy today. Like I said, I hurt my hamstring, but I want to start getting used to working on the hills. Yeah, and more and more drills on the hills. That was always the plan. I'm not so much working on speed as I am balance. I'm walking home. Yeah, I don't want to. So this predictive nature is huge because growing up, the majority of our conditioning happens from age 0 to 7. And in that time, the body is full of myelin, which wraps the neurons. Remember, we have 100 billion neurons. And those neurons form pathways with the synapses in between them. And the synapses is the neurotransmitter. In this context, the 4 neurotransmitters we're concerning ourselves with are the glutamate, which sends the central nervous system signal to the neural pathway, the dopamine and serotonin, which builds the habits and keeps us going, feel good and all that. And that's the synapses between the neurons, which is how they communicate. The myelin makes that, and then the acetylcholine is the last neurotransmitter, and that's the one that communicates to the muscle junction. Now on the neurons, as I was saying, we have the neurons, there's 100 billion of them. Get your head wrapped around that. If you moved 1,000 neurons a day, it would take you 273,000 years to move all those neurons. Gives you an idea of why habit change is difficult. Now, the point about the neurons is this, and this ties into the conversation about about homeostasis. So, the neurons when we do deep practice. And you can think of footwork drills as a form of deep practice. Those 7 factors I bring up: novelty, intention, precision, balance, progression, explosiveness, and struggle on the edge of ability, are correlated with deep practice. Deep practice mostly talks about struggle at the edge of ability and also really clearly defined targets. So if you imagine playing a piano piece that's 5 minutes, but you're going to drill just on 20 seconds or 30 seconds of it, that would be like the deep practice. And what you're doing is striving for perfection, 5 in a row with perfection. Maybe change up the pace, speed up the metronome, things like that. A good example is I read the Steph Curry, when he's practicing his shots. He's not just shooting at the rim. He's picking out specific hooks. He wants the ball to go over a particular hook or go in at a particular hook, and that's his deep practice. And what it does is it communicates to the central nervous system that this activity is important. And so the point here is that these neurotransmitters that get wrapped as myelin, with age, so as decades pass, we do lose some myelin, but myelin doesn't degrade with lack of use. The neurotransmitter, the synapse does. The synapse moves from the neural pathways that are active to the ones that are inactive. And that's the whole point about doing the footwork drills, is that we're activating new neurons, neural pathways. And to activate more neural pathways, we have to generate neurotransmitter. And that's why we're getting more glutamate, serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine. But in the process, we're improving mitochondria, we're lengthening the caps, the telomeres on the end of the DNA, we're improving NAD, we're reducing inflammation. And these are the reasons, again, you can see why we don't want to get out of the zone when it comes to production of neurotransmitter. Now, I do work out. I go to the gym and live. That's different. At the gym, I'm working on muscle. I'm going to failure, and I do that just 1 day a week, so I'm doing heavy. I also ride a bike 1 day a week because I'm doing the footwork drills 3 times a week, and I was sprinting 1 day a week. I'll probably change the sprinting day to running uphill, and that's why I wanted to start practicing uphill. So the neurotransmitters between the neural pathways, the neurons get wrapped with myelin, and that makes them fire faster, stronger, and with more accuracy. Now here's why it's so important. If you did anything in your teen years, whether it's football, basketball, knitting, basket weaving, dancing, whatever you did, bicycle riding, whatever you did in your teen years, you wrapped neurons with myelin. That myelin should still be in existence, at least a high percentage of it. But the neural pathways are inactive. As you get into those activities, let's say you did martial arts, like I did. That's what I did in my teen years and early 20s. And I'm going to start with Wing Chun. The other one I would recommend for people over 60, 70 is Tai Chi, because it's an easy discipline to get into as we're older. But Wing Chun is closer to the way I used to train, and it fits my style more. But the point is, this is going back to something I did in my teen years and 20s. I expect to be able to reactivate some of those neural pathways, and some of those lessons will come fairly quickly. But even if they don't, I can still learn new things, and that's the point about this. So we got the neurons, they're wrapped with myelin, they're strong and they're dormant, some of them. We do drills, we activate them with neurotransmitter. Now we have a neural pathway, and that's why we can get past the awkwardness that shows up for the first couple of days of the season with the new re-engaging in a sport. And now we have this active pathway. Well, there's two terms, homeostasis and allostasis. And homeostasis is the body's desire to get back to, it's like the status quo. It wants to make everything stable. So if I was just doing footwork drills, it would, a way to think about it, we have 100 billion neurons. I already told you that's a ton, right? 1,000 a day, it'd take you 272,000 years at 1,000 a day to move them all. So what are all those neurons doing? Well, we're activating new neural pathways. What are the other ones doing? The way I look at it, and I have to dig deeper into the research, but I imagine from what I've been reading, it's something like there's other neurons that come in to stabilize. Then what they do is, using leverage, they make this easy. And then the neurotransmitter can go back to that lower level. So that basal metabolism, 80% of our daily metabolism is the resting metabolism, is used up just for resting, just to exist. That's where that stability is coming in. When I'm doing these exercises, I'm using more metabolism than that. And my body wants to get back to homeostasis, where, I should say, the central nervous system wants to get back to homeostasis, where it's just stabilized and all this is easy. It's not work. So you get the point. Allostasis is the opposite, or not the opposite, but allostasis is what I was talking about with this predictive thing, where the central nervous system is figuring out what where the central nervous system is figuring out how much demand is going to be needed, and it's adjusting in advance. I have to think that this is tied into priming. A great book on priming is by John Bargh, B-A-R-G-H, Before You Know It. It's a great book, explains priming very well. And priming is a cousin to me, in my opinion, to cognitive biases. And cognitive bias, understanding priming and cognitive biases goes a long way to getting you to control the powerful present moment. So because of the allostasis, and because of what we can do with neurotransmitters, and the way the body stabilizes, so we can recreate, we can update, we can upgrade our nervous system. We can upgrade our sense. Now, it's not going to be as easy, because at a young age, we had a lot of myelin, and we had a lot of neurotransmitter. And so it was very easy, and the threshold to wrap neurons with myelin was very low. So the neurons got wrapped very easily. Now what we have to do, we have to work a little harder to get them to wrap. But if you start doing something new, you practice something, it will become a skill, because you're going to build new neural pathways. You're going to wrap new neurons with myelin. You can do this with writing, you can do it with typing. This is why when people take over a new position, it's like 1 or 2 years, they have a lot of experience. This is why companies like to hire based on experience. But what I'm telling you here with this homeostasis and the allostasis, we can recreate who we want to be. We can design that life and then build the habits that life needs. And because of the homeostasis, you don't look at it the way I'm talking about it right now. It's very easy to think that what you see is what you get. This is why there's so much written about belief. You can see how it starts to tie in. Belief and visualization, you can use those to build and activate neural pathways. But instead of focusing on doing it with belief, what I'm talking about doing is focusing on doing it intentionally by building neural pathways that have to do with our life design. So one of the things you notice, I talk while I'm doing these exercises. That makes me struggle on the edge of ability. And it's telling their central nervous system this is important. And my objective is every week to throw something new at the nervous system, do a few older exercises, overlap, but keep throwing some new things at it. And the way I'm looking at it now, I think I may have been pushing the envelope too much with sprinting and doing this. I want to focus on the neurotransmitters, building up the neural pathways, and then apply this as well to losing weight. So I'll wait a week, maybe two, see how I'm doing, and then I'll start explaining some of the things, because I'm stacking it. I'm taking various principles that apply to weight loss, and I'm stacking them. And I want to make sure I have it dialed in, and then I'll share what I'm doing, as long as I'm seeing the progress. If I'm not seeing the progress, it doesn't make any sense to share. So I have to drop 15 pounds. Based on the sprinting I was doing, I'm pretty certain that by the end of July, my sprint time will very easily be what it was 5 years ago, assuming I lose the 15 pounds. So it may be a little bit clunky, the way I'm talking about the homeostasis and allostasis, but the picture I want you to walk away with is, because the body's always trying, the central nervous system is always trying to get things stabilized, you can see how we may think that what we have is what we got. That's it. But if you go back and look at kids from 0 to 26 or 7, so from 20 to 27 or so, the prefrontal cortex finished forming. And with that, the last 20 billion neurons developed. So the neurons were underdeveloped in the prefrontal cortex. They developed 20 billion of them, and that gets you the 100 billion neurons. But up until 26 or 7, all we had to do was show up. You show up, and you're getting better. Whether it's a sport, whether it's playing an instrument, whatever it is, work, tricks on the skateboard, whatever it is, you showed up, you got better. Because we had myelin, we had neurotransmitters, and then once all the neurons were developed, we went into the stabilization, and that's where we give up and let life be 95% by habit. Knowing what I know now, I would have accelerated the learning even more. I remember at 18 reading that the average person stops learning at age 18, and it struck me. That was how old I was. And I said, oh, not me. I'm going to keep learning until I'm 35 years old. I made a goal to read X amount of books every year until I was 35. At 18, 35 seemed old. And here I am still learning. But the point is, it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking that our life is what it is. That stabilization means that's all there is. But looking at it from the homeostasis lens, you can anticipate that those plateaus are coming and play into the game where you keep adding something new. That's the daily routine. I'll have that pinned. I'm going to pin it tomorrow. I edited it, cleaned up some of the gaps. It's going to be on the top of the Facebook page, Life Expansion After 50. You can watch that update, because that's the daily routine that I do. And that routine is to drive neurotransmitter. And I'm making a tweak because of this conversation I'm having right now, that as the bands get to the point where they're heavy enough where I'm working on muscle, what I'll do is shift to a whole new set of exercises, something different, still with bands, but something completely different. So I go back to the neural pathway activation. And then, I'll probably come back. So I'll probably have 3 different kinds of sets that I rotate through, and then come back to the beginning one again. I'll do another update on that one in the middle of July, because by then I will have switched into a new routine, and I'll share some of that new routine. All right. I will go live again maybe Thursday and then Saturday. I'll try to post it in advance. I'll look at the weather and time when I'll go out. because Saturday will be a pretty good one. I'll start doing some hill work and I'll be able to update you on some other things. All right, see you.